Ever had that feeling? You've got a story, maybe a classic text you love, and you want to make it feel, well, special in its digital form.
Yeah, like transforming just plain digital words into a really polished ebook, one you actually enjoy looking at and reading.
Exactly. But maybe you glanced at the technical side, the how-to, and your eyes just sort of glazed over.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But if that's you, you're definitely in the right place today.
We're doing a deep dive into exactly that, turning digital text into a truly professional-looking ebook.
And we're going straight to uh, a really authoritative source for this, the step-by-step guide from Standard Ebooks themselves.
Ah, Standard Ebooks. They make those fantastic free ebooks, right? Known for being super high quality.
That's them. Meticulously crafted. So we're looking at how they achieve that consistent standard. It's like getting the inside scoop.
And people start from different places, don't they? You might have your own messy manuscript.
Or maybe scans of an old book, or you're pulling a public domain text from somewhere like Project Gutenberg.
Right. So this dive should hopefully shed some light on those crucial details, the things you might not even think about when you just picture an ebook.
Definitely. Our mission today isn't just like basic formatting. We want to understand the essential stages, but also some of the surprising nuances.
The things that really elevate it.
Exactly. That extra level of care that makes a digital book a pleasure, not a chore.
Okay. Now, I have peeked at their guide, and fair warning, some terms might sound a bit techie, like GNU Linux gets a mention.
It does, yeah. But don't worry, we're not going to get lost in the weeds with code.
Good bit.
We'll focus on the logic, the key thinking behind each step. What are the important considerations?
So even if you're not planning on becoming an ebook production wizard yourself.
Right. Understanding the process can totally change how you appreciate the ebooks you already read. It gives you that perspective.
Okay, let's get into it then. Where does the Standard Ebooks process actually begin?
So the very first thing is setting up their toolkit. It revolves around this command line tool called C. Okay. Like their special set of digital tools for this job.
Precisely. And you install and manage it using something called Pipex. Think of Pipex as just a neat way to handle these kinds of tools.
And they emphasize keeping it updated.
Yeah, constantly. Which, shows they're always refining things. You can easily check your version too. Just type C version.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Tools ready. What's next? The text itself.
Exactly. Selecting your source text. And they specifically highlight Project Gutenberg as a prime resource, especially for public domain stuff.
Makes sense. It's huge.
It is. But here's where it gets interesting. They advise caution.
Oh, how so?
Well, turns out the most downloaded version of a book on Gutenberg isn't always the best one to start with.
Really? Like, it might have more errors or something?
Could be errors, or sometimes it's about the translation. They mentioned Journey to the Center of the Earth, a less downloaded translation, is actually considered more accurate.
Huh. So you need to be a bit discerning.
You really do. Just be a bit of a detective. Don't just grab the first one you see. And they mentioned different formats too, right?
Yeah.
HTML versus EPB on Gutenberg.
Yeah, and this is key. They're not always identical. The HTML version might actually be cleaner, maybe have better semantic markup.
Semantic markup, like tags that give meaning, not just style.
Yeah, exactly. Like using M for emphasis. The EPB version might lack some of that. So yeah, look closely, pick the one that seems most accurate and well-structured.
Got it. And for their guide, they use a specific example.
They do. The strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And they even point to a specific Gutenberg version. They prefer cleaner transcription, more modern punctuation, that kind of thing.
Okay, so Jekyll and Hyde it is. Now, you mentioned being a detective. What else?
This next step is absolutely crucial, they stress. Finding digital scans of the actual printed pages.
Ah, okay, like on the Internet Archive.
Internet Archive is their top preference.
Okay.
Then HathiTrust, then Google Books. The order often relates to viewing access and quality sometimes.
But why? Why are the scans so vital if you already have the text?
Well, it's not just for historical curiosity, though. That's cool, too.
Right.
The scans often show formatting details completely missing from the digital text. Think italics.
Oh, I see. So older transcriptions might have just ignored italics altogether.
Exactly. Or maybe small caps or specific paragraph indentations you'd never know without comparing to the original print.
That makes a lot of sense. What else do the scans help with?
Verifying the copyright page is a big one. You need to confirm the publication date.
For public domain status, right?
Right. Specifically, making sure the scan is from a publication before January 1st, 1929 for U.S. public domain.
And they actually link to these scans in the final ebook.
They do. The link goes into the content.opf metadata file, Think of it as the eBooks ID card.
Mm,
It provides provenance, allows verification.
that's really thorough. Transparency.
Very. They also mention an optional step. If you're aiming to submit to Standard Ebooks, maybe pitch it on their mailing list before starting production.
Kind of like checking if someone else is already working on it.
Yeah, and just getting it on their radar shows a collaborative approach.
Okay. And before the building starts, they clarify what an EPB actually is.
Just briefly, yeah. Basically, a structured collection of files, HTML for text, CSS for style, images all zipped together, like a self-contained little website for a book.
Right. Okay, foundation laid. How do we start actually building this EPB structure?
This is where the create draft command comes in. It sets up that initial skeleton.
The basic folders and files you need.
Exactly. You can run it with or without an option called PGE, which is the Project Gutenberg ID number.
Ah, so if you use the ID.
It can automatically download the text from Gutenberg for you, and even try to pre-fill some basic book info. Pretty handy.
Does it handle things like multiple translators?
Yeah, they show examples for single authors and multiple translators. It tries its best.
But it's not perfect. You mentioned Gutenberg texts vary.
Precisely. Because those texts come from many volunteers using different methods, the tool has to guess sometimes. It won't always nail everything.
So rule number 1 is check its work.
Absolutely essential. Review the pre-filled data in key files. Body.xhtml for the main text. Colophon.xhtml for the edition info, and content.opf for the metadata.
What are you looking for specifically?
Making sure any Gutenberg-specific license stuff is gone from the main text, and that the original transcribers are properly credited in the colophon and metadata, giving credit where it's due.
Makes sense. And if you're not using a Gutenberg ID or prefer manual,
They cover that too. You'd manually download the HTML, maybe using a tool like Relied.
we're good. Okay, like a web downloader.
Yep. And then you might hit character encoding issues.
Ah, the dreaded garbled text problem.
Potentially. You might need to figure out the file's current encoding, maybe using file by, and then convert it to UTF-8, the standard, using icon by. Little technical hurdle sometimes.
Good to know. So you have the basic structure, the text is sort of in there. Now what? Cleanup.
Exactly. Initial rough cleanup time. First, you remove any header stuff that comes before the actual book text starts.
Like the Project Gutenberg intro notes and disclaimers.
Those, yeah. And any title info that's part of that header. Also, get rid of any table of contents in the source file. Standard Ebooks generates its own later.
Okay. And the stuff at the end.
That goes too. Any footer text, like the end, or, crucially, the Gutenberg license that often appears right at the very bottom, strip it all out.
Just the pure text of the book remains.
That's the goal. They show a before and after, with the Jekyll example, makes it really clear.
And then a git commit.
Yep, your very first one, with the specific message, initial commit.
Why so specific?
It marks that clean starting point. Remember, Git is like taking snapshots. This is snapshot 0. Raw text imported and boilerplate removed.
Got it. Logical steps. What's next after the big cleanup?
Splitting that single big file into smaller ones, usually chapter by chapter.
Makes sense for managing things? How's that done?
Using the C-splitfile command, it looks for a spectral marker you insert in the text. .sac.splitc. Wherever it sees that, it starts a new file.
So you have to manually put those markers in between chapters.
You can, but they offer a clever shortcut.
Oh, automation.
A little bit. Using a simple Perl command. If your chapter titles are marked up with H2 tags in the HTML.
Which they often are.
Right. The Perl command can automatically find those H2 tags and insert the .sneas bit marker just before them. Saves a lot of manual work and potential errors.
That's smart. Okay, so now you have lots of little chapter files.
Correct. Those new files get moved into a specific project folder. Source pub text.
And the original big file.
You remove that body.xhtml. It's been replaced by the chapter files.
Then more cleaning.
Yep, cleaning the individual chapter files now using CClean.
What does CClean do at this stage?
It fixes common formatting hiccups, converts HTML entities like an amp for an ampersand into their proper XHTML versions, just tidies up the code.
Does it catch everything?
Usually not quite everything. Manual checks are still needed. In the Jekyll example, they mention finding some stray empty div or p tags at the end of chapters.
Leftovers from the original formatting, maybe for spacing?
Probably. Those need to be removed manually. It's those little things that add up to a professional feel.
True. Anything else in this stage? Language settings.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The XML.lang attribute. This tells reading devices the language of the text.
So you need to make sure it's correct, like NGB for British English.
Exactly. If the book uses British spelling and grammar, change it from the default, which is often in US.
But Only for the main text files.
Right. Not for metadata or the front-back matter files, which usually stay in US in the standard ebooks world.
Okay. And after all that, another commit.
You got it. Commit number 2. Split files and clean, keeping track of the progress.
Right. Makes sense. So the structure is cleaner, files are split, now we make it look good, typography.
Now we elevate the text, and the first big tool here is typography.
Typography. Sounds fancy. What does it do?
It's kind of magical, actually. It automates a lot of standard typographic rules the standard ebooks follows.
Like what kind of things?
Converting straight quotes to proper curly quotes, adding non-breaking spaces after things like Mr. or Mrs. so they don't split across lines,
Oh, that's useful.
normalizing ellipses and em-dashes so they're consistent, adjusting spacing and nested quotes. It does a ton of the grunt work.
Wow. So run that and you're done with typography.
If only. Though they're very clear, manual work is almost always needed afterwards.
Ah, okay. So the workflow is run, see, typography.
Then immediately make your third git commit, typography. Keep those automated changes separate.
Right. And you dive in manually. What kind of manual stuff?
Well, using Jekyll as the example, its chapter titles were originally in all caps. Standard ebooks prefers title case.
So you'd have to change chapter 1 to chapter 1?
Essentially, yes. Though title case is usually first letter of most words capitalized. They have another tool, C title case, to help with that.
And they suggest editor shortcuts for that, macros.
Yeah, a great efficiency tip. Set up a macro in your text editor to apply title case quickly.
Smart. What else is on the manual typography checklist? It looked pretty detailed.
It is. Things like checking the apostrophe for elisions, the little curl in don't, or a clock, versus a plain single quote.
Subtle difference.
Very.
Yeah.
Using proper prime and double prime symbols for coordinates, not just single or double quotes.
Okay. And what about text in all caps?
Generally, convert it to lowercase, but wrap it in emphasis tags like M or strong. Preserve the intended emphasis, but not with shouty caps.
Makes sense. Any other common pitfalls?
Placement of quotes near em-dashes can be tricky. Making sure you use 2 em-dashes correctly for obscured words, and the big one for American style.
Commas and periods inside the quotation marks?
Usually, yes. But they add a crucial note. Be careful with that rule around allusions or possessives, ending in tangents. It's not always straightforward. Attention to detail.
Definitely seems like it. Okay, so you meticulously go through all that, then commit again.
If you made manual changes, yes. Commit number 4, manual typography changes.
What's next? Finding weird characters.
Exactly. The C, Find Unusual Characters tool. It flags things that might be transcription errors, like OCR mistakes.
So if it finds something odd and you fix it.
Another commit. Correct transcription errors. Always log those fixes.
Right. Now, footnotes. Ebooks don't really do footnotes well, do they?
Not in the traditional sense. So standard ebooks converts them to endnotes.
Appearing at the end of the chapter or book?
Usually at the end of the book, they have specific formatting rules for the links, CMO standard, and a tool, C-shift endnotes, if you need to reorder them.
But Jekyll doesn't have footnotes.
Nope, so we skip that for this example. Same goes for illustrations.
Ah, if there were illustrations, you'd add a list of illustrations.
Correct. Usually after the endnotes, again with specific formatting, and a commit, add LOI, but Jekyll has none, so skip again.
Okay. One more thing in this section, British versus American quotes.
Yeah, an optional step.
Yeah.
If the source uses British style, single quotes primary, you can convert to American style, double quotes primary, using C, British to American.
When do you do that?
After running site typography. But they warn you. Proofread carefully afterwards. The tool isn't perfect.
And if you do it, commit. Convert from British style quotation to American style.
You got it. That wraps up the main text refinement stage.
Phew. Okay, so the text looks typographically sound now. What's next? Adding, meaning semantics.
Exactly. Adding semantics. Using HTML elements not just for looks, but for meaning.
So going beyond just I for italics.
Right. Using M specifically for emphasis. Using abre for abbreviations. Using section to mark structural parts. Using XML.lang for foreign words.
Making the code itself describe the content better.
Precisely. And they use EPUB 3 and other standards for even richer semantic tagging.
Is there a tool for this too?
There is. Semantic automates some of it.
You need to check its work.
Always. Use Git diff tool to see exactly what it changed. Then commit. Semanticate.
And then more manual semantic work.
Often, yes. Distinguishing M versus I carefully. Handling those all caps sections we mentioned. Maybe using Perl to wrap them in.
What else needs manual semantics?
Chapter titles. Abbreviations, especially initials. Using things like abri apub.type z3998.given name times am pm. Foreign words tagged with their language. ixml.lang cr for French.
And poetry or songs.
Need special formatting, often using line breaks and indentation, but not the pre-tag typically. That's usually wrong for verse.
Okay. Lots of careful tagging. And then commit.
Commit. Manually add additional semantics.
Right. Now, modernizing spelling, that sounds controversial.
It can be. The tool is C Modernize Spelling. It mainly removes hyphens from words that aren't typically hyphenated anymore, like today becoming today.
But you have to check it very carefully.
Critically important. They give the example of gold thread, potentially becoming gold thread.
Which is a flower, not golden thread.
Exactly. A complete change in meaning, so you must review every single change.
So how do you review effectively?
They suggest specific git diff commands or git diff tool that show changes character by character, making errors easier to spot.
Okay. What about phrases like someone becoming someone?
That's handled separately, usually with C interactive replace, because sometimes anyway should stay 2 words, context matters.
So it prompts you for each instance.
Yes. For phrases like someone, anyone, everyone, anyway, without. You decide case by case.
Got it. And all these modernization changes go into a special commit.
Yes, an editorial commit message. Editorial, modernize hyphenation and spelling.
Why editorial?
It flags changes that are conscious editorial decisions to alter the original text, like modernizing or fixing probable printer's typos, distinct from fixing simple transcription errors.
Clear distinction, important for tracking changes.
Very. These editorial changes should only be in commits marked like this.
Okay, more editorial checks. Diacritics?
Yep, using C, find mismatched diacritics. Finding words spelled sometimes with, sometimes without accents, like cafe versus cafe.
And the goal is consistency.
Generally, yes. Standardized to the modern usage, unless it's non-English or a proper name where the diacritic is correct.
And if you make changes?
Another editorial commit. Editorial correct mismatched diacritics.
Same process for dashes.
Pretty much. Sci-C find mismatched dashes looks for inconsistencies in hyphenation of compound words. Standardize, then commit. Editorial, correct mismatched dashes.
Okay, editorial phase, done. What's next? Chapter titles again?
Setting the actual title element within each chapter's HTML file to match the heading. The C build title tool helps here.
So the browser tab or reader title bar shows the right chapter name.
Exactly. Run the tool, check it, then commit. Add titles.
Now for the ebooks plumbing, manifest and spine.
You got it. Defining content.opf. The manifest lists all the files in the EP.
Text, images, style.
Right, and the spine defines the reading order of the main text file.
How are those generated?
2 tools. C build manifest and C build spine. They automatically populate those sections.
Any gotchas here? Back.
Ah yes, the MACD store files. Hidden files that can break the EPU validation. Need to delete them first. Find .namd, store, delete.
Good tip. So generate, then commit.
Commit. Add manifest and spine. Though you might need to manually reorder the spine entries afterward to ensure chapters are in the right sequence.
Okay, spine ordered, now the table of contents.
Yes, build the tonsi using C build tonk creates that navigable list for the reader.
And you need to check this one too.
Definitely. Review the generated topic.xhtml. It's actually a great way to spot structural problems you might have missed earlier.
Like if a chapter is missing or mistitled.
Exactly. Then commit. Add tonku.
We must be getting close now. Final checks before building.
Almost there. Run C clean and C lint one more time.
Lint checks against Standard Ebooks style rules.
Yes. At this stage, you might expect some errors about the cover, colophon, metadata stuff you haven't finished yet, but fix any other errors it finds.
Right. And then you build for proofreading.
Now you build. Using C build, probably with Kindle and Kobo flags to get optimized versions.
So you get multiple files?
Yep, a standard.epub, a .kprub.epub for Kobo, and a .asw3 for Kindle, ready for testing on devices.
And proofreading here means?
Reading through carefully on a device or app, looking for typos, formatting glitches, ensuring it follows the CMOS rules. Not a deep scan comparison at this point.
Okay, proofreading done, hopefully fixes made. Now, the cover.
The cover. Big step. Standard Ebooks has a very specific layout.
And they require public domain fine art, oil paintings.
That's the standard, yeah. And this is a crucial point. Get approval from the editor-in-chief before you commit the cover art.
Don't just add any painting.
Definitely not. You need proof it's public domain, like a scan from a pre-1929 book featuring it. They use a Hans von Marais self-portrait for Jekyll.
Okay, approval secured. What then?
Edit the cover.svg file. It's a vector file. Add the title and author using the League Spartan font.
SVG, okay. Not just a JPG.
Nope, they build from SVG. Then run cbuild images. This processes cover.svg and titlepage.svg into the actual image files needed, JPGs usually, in the right places.
Before files generated, it looks like.
Usually, yes. Then commit. Add cover image.
Cover done. What's left? Metadata completion.
Finishing off that content.opf file. Adding the short and long descriptions, verifying Wikipedia links, crediting the cover artist, author, contributors, and you as the producer.
And the long description needs special formatting.
Escaped HTML.cscreen can help with that. Once it's all filled in, commit. Complete content.opf.
Nearly there. Imprint and colophon.
Completing those two. Imprint.xhtml gets links to the source text and scans. Colophon.xhtml gets cover artist credit, original transcriber credits, Gutenberg scan links again, and your producer credit.
But leave the release date blank.
For now, yes. Prepare release handles that later. So complete those files, then commit. Complete the imprint and colophon.
Okay. Almost done.
One last round of typography and clean, just in case. Review changes carefully with Git diff tool.
Then the final checks.
Final linting with chlint expects 0 errors now.
And a final build check.
Yep, build check only. This runs the epub check tool. Again, expect 0 errors. Your EP should be perfectly valid.
Success. So how do you actually publish it?
Depends. If submitting to Standard Ebooks, you contact their mailing list now, share your project link. Critically, you don't run prepare release.
Ah, they handle the final release step.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
But if it's for personal use or distributing yourself,
then you run prepare release.
Yes. That tool adds the release modification dates in word count to content.opf and colophon.xhtml.
And the very last commit.
Initial publication.
Oh.
Then you do one final build, maybe with all flags including check, and your polished ebook is ready.
Wow. Okay. That is significantly more involved than just hitting save as EPUB.
Miles beyond that, yeah. The meticulous attention to typography, semantics, metadata, verification against scans. It's a deep process.
It really makes you appreciate the effort that goes into a well-made ebook.
Absolutely. Whether you plan to make one or just read them, understanding this process gives you a holding perspective. You notice the details.
You start to see the difference between something quickly converted and something carefully crafted, like a standard ebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just text on a screen. It's a deliberately constructed reading experience.
So this deep dive really shows the layers of human effort and technical precision involved.
It really does. It makes you think, doesn't it? What other digital things that seem simple on the surface have these incredibly intricate creation stories behind them?
That's a great thought to end on, something to ponder next time you're browsing your digital bookshelf.
Definitely check out the Standard Ebooks site. See their library, maybe even think about contributing, or just enjoy reading their books with that newfound appreciation for how they got there.